Well, Gio gave us another gift. What is that? A Davidoff? Davidoff Black Label? I think this was the first Davidoff Black Label. I think, and I could be totally wrong. This is the Davidoff Nicaragua, the most famous Davidoff Black Label. Probably the best one. What's on that? Strange. Anyways, this is the smallest one. 3 3/4 by 46. So basically about 4 by 46. Anything smaller, probably a pequeño. I've had a great time with these Nicaraguans, and I've had a great time with this size before. However, I don't know when's the last time I had Nicaragua. Maybe within a year. A regular Nicaragua. And I don't remember the last time I had this size. So, I mean, I've had Nicaragua cigar many times, but not like on a monthly basis. So, when I have one, I have one. But especially when they first came out, first few years, I would say, I've smoked them a lot, you know. Just as a reviewer, this, you're constantly changing, reviewing stuff, and coming back to stuff, but whatever. But there's just so many blends. And the Davidoffs are not cheap. This is the smallest size, but I could look up the price point. I probably should. But probably even for this size, this is going to be around $15. It's a small cigar. I know the full-size ones are going for anywhere $20 to $25. So not a cheap cigar. And it's not like you're really getting any crazy kind of banding. That's the funny thing about Davidoff. I mean, the name, right? It's a beautiful band. But at the same time, you know, for, let's say if this is 15, but I know the full-size ones are anywhere 20 to 25. You know, it's a very simple, clean band, but it's really nothing special as far as, and I guess in a way it's kind of like, well, a cigar is what's special. And I get that too, but at the same time, maybe they could lower the cost of the Davidoff because of the cheaper band. And what I mean cheaper, I mean, dude, I mean, there were ZP Carrillos and Gurkhas that have like portraits. You understand what I'm trying to say. But it is what it is. Simple, clean-looking band. Classy and elegant, sure. But compared to many other, almost all other mid-tier and up bands, but we're just talking about the bands. But still, it's part of the cigar. I mean, damn it, you know? There's something to think about. Or you look even like an Opus X. You know, superior band. These are not cheap. Every little thing matters. I mean, unless your money doesn't matter to you. But am I going to enjoy this? Oh yeah. Is the Davidoff Nicaragua a great band? Great band. Great cigar? Oh yeah. We'll see what the potency is with the small size. That's the question. But I have to review every part of the cigar. And these are not cheap. Very full pack, but feels light for its size. So these were listed as an old Nicaraguan, 10-year Nicaraguan aged Rosado wrapper, Habano seed, and tobacco from other regions in the filler of Nicaragua. So let's get to it, baby. But we're old in the Dominican Republic. Even though Davidoff makes some great cigars, they're fucking expensive. Good smoke output. Medium plus off the bat. Medium length finish. Medium heaviness. So off to a nice, solid start. It's not a weak cigar at all. But that finish is getting longer. The private chat we talked about Davidoff. And Jeremy brought up something that, Davidoff cigars, and we talked about Davidoff and the different aspects of them and how they manipulate. We watched documentaries about they're very nitty gritty down to like how they grow their cigars and their seeds and splicing DNA of seeds. And look over the videos. They're playing like eugenics. They're playing. They play kind of like any other brand. They do a lot of mad science, and I guess you're paying for all these. And Jeremy brought up a good point saying how they do so much for the quality control with the cigars, with the tobacco, even before they grow it. How they watch this video on how they manipulate stuff. It's pretty amazing. And they even do stuff I've seen while they're growing. I thought there was one thing where basically they only wanted certain plants. Was it all male or all female? I don't know how the fuck they did, whatever the fuck. The point is, though, because they didn't want anything, if the seed somehow blew off the plant in the wind, they didn't want anyone to be able to recreate what they're growing. I'm messing up this situation, but the point is, like, Davidoff has crazy amount of quality control, but not just like you think, like, the draw, the burn. I'm talking about, like, from the seeds and the science behind everything. Is that really necessary? I mean, if anything, Davidoff is the coldest brand. It is the fierce professional corporation that makes very high quality cigars. But like Fuente's the heart. Padron's just making spicy cigars, and that's great. If you want spicy, if you want, at least if you go Maduro, if you want spicy chocolate, you go Padron. But they're all the same. Fuente's like waking up in the middle of the night and God's giving him blends. Fuente's like, my dead grandfather gave me this blend while I was sleeping last night. I had a couple of margaritas, and I couldn't sleep well, and it was a nightmare. But then it wasn't a nightmare. And then I woke up, but I was really still sleeping. And here's this new blend. I love you, puppy. Like, whatever. I don't know. Like, in all respect, but I'm obviously paraphrasing. So Fuente's like that kind of, the magician, the toy maker, he calls himself. And Davidoff, Davidoff is like in the movie Aliens or something like that, like the Whalen Corporation. Like Davidoff is like, it's so serious that it's too serious. That's my opinion. And it's a great, I hope you don't understand what I'm trying to say about the brand. I think Fuente is like completely in touch with the cigar market and the cigar people. And I would say Steve Saka is too, like on a more like a regular working class kind of guy in touch with, like you have Steve Saka in touch with the regular guy. And then like Fuente's in touch with like everyone. He makes cigars for everyone at the same time. High-end Fuente can get nuts, but he's doing a lot of charity work, so God bless. Davidoff, this is a joke here. There's no charity. I mean, maybe they do. I'm just saying. Like Davidoff's like, we're too rich to give. Like, that was a joke. I'm really enjoying this cigar. Rich milk chocolate nuttiness, like almost like peanut butter. How I remember this cigar. About 3/4 darkness, 70 to 75. It's not as dark as you think, but it's not. 70 to 75%. It has it's very polished, Davidoff. It's very clean, very nice though. I mean, there is no grittiness. Davidoff, picture like if you were filtering something, like filtering water, or you have 10x filtered vodka. Like Davidoff would be like 15. They would just do more extra steps. Now, does that make it better? I mean, it's up to you. Is Davidoff a great cigar company? Yeah. But are they out of touch for like regular people? Yes. Is Davidoff a status symbol? Oh, it is. You know, if you had Davidoff and, you know, in your BMW or Mercedes and going to the golf course and going to the Four Seasons for dinner, you know, it's an elitist brand. So most people in America are middle class. And now that the middle class is gone, and now it's the working poor, maybe Davidoff is the only vacation you could afford. Hey, where are we going this year, honey? Well, I bought a 5-pack of Davidoffs. And I can't afford to take a week off. But every night this week, after I work 2 shifts, we're going to come home and smoke a Davidoff. And we'll dream of, I don't know, a vacation. Wow. Can we dream together? Yes, honey. But only 4 hours, because that's it's the truth, though. They warned us in Total Recall. We're in Total Recall, like, regular people couldn't afford to go on vacation, so you just did Total Recall, and they took you there in their mind. And that sounds crazy, right? But now they're talking about that in real life. They're like, well, rich people will still go on vacation. They actually said this on like a World Economic Forum. They're like, those with means will still go on vacation. However, though, regular people should still have vacation. You're just going to go on AI vacation. You're going to go on vacation in your mind. Here's the problem, though. What happens if your AI vacation, you go to Diddy's house? Even scarier, what if you want to go to Diddy's house? What if you want to experience AI Diddy? I mean, it's not real. But what's real? Memories? If you did something real, but then you had no memory, did it happen? And if you didn't do something, but you had the memories, what's the fucking difference? I don't know. I'll tell you what, this is a great cigar. Chocolatey, slightly black pepper spicy, slightly salt in the back end, nice nutty peanut butter. It's a very clean tasting cigar. It's a very delicious tasting cigar. I have nothing bad to say about it. Is this my favorite size? Probably I like the round Robusto for this size. And I can't tell if I like the box press better. And it's been a long time. I should revisit this cigar in both sizes, Robusto in box press and round. Because they do make this in box press. Holding the smoke, it is very clean, very polished. But it's very delicious, though. If you're expecting like AJ Fernandez or Padron Power, don't get this. This is a very clean, delicious cigar. And it's not even listed as a Maduro. It's listed as a Rosado. And that was right from, was that what the hell was that one? One of those big websites. It was the original release when they were releasing this, 2013. So the cigar's been around for a long time. Right there, boom, we went through almost medium full. Oh yeah, right there. Right there. Now we're really in full swing. Almost medium full. Rich black pepper, got a little more spicier. The rich rock salt, nice sea salt, that's very nice. The chocolate's still there, sweetness. The peanut butter, it's delicious. Now the thing is, here's like the best part. Well, there's 2 best parts of Davidoff's. Clarity. Now you might not like this, but the flavors are so polished, but they're so, like when you're tasting the notes of Davidoff, they're like crystal clear. However, though, some people might not like that. Some people like a little texture. Some people like, let's just say a little stubble. What are you talking about here, though? Some people like a landing strip. Put it this way, if cigar companies was legal chocha, Davidoff would be, it would have a complete, like, it had like had surgery. I mean, I don't know, it had like a face, whatever. It's white, it's Brazilian. It's had a labia, whatever they do. I don't know. It reconstruct. It's man completely manipulating the natural, which is interesting. I think you two opposite brands, Davidoff and Padron. You could even see like Davidoff and my father. My father's more of a mid-tier brand. So whatever you want to do. My point is though, you smoke like a Padron 26 Maduro and smoke a Davidoff Nicaragua. Not the same night, but you know, back-to-back nights. You see what I'm talking about. Which one you'll like better, it's up to you. But it's impressive. It's impressive with Davidoffs how clean they are. Like I said though, for some people, clean could be equivalent to not exciting. So examples like, you know, shooting with the suppressor. Oh, so much more quieter. Okay, that's cool. At the same time, people when they go to the range, they might like the noise, they might like the flash. It's more exciting. And a suppressor is manipulating what the gun is doing. There's gonna be a lot of powder, a lot of flash, a lot of noise. Well, the powder's gonna be, some of it's gonna be redirected. But the point is though, I'm like, not just shooting the cigar here, I'm digging deep into the Davidoff brand. If you haven't smoked, I've smoked a lot of Davidoffs. And they're in their own class. Because in a way, it's not even about the blends that Davidoff does. Their quality control in the way they do stuff, it's not for everyone, and I get it. Some people are like, oh, Davidoffs, I don't like their flavor, or this and that. Or like I said, Jeremy brought up a good point about how, in a way, sometimes they could taste too polished or too clean because the way they do stuff. And I can see all of that. But in a way, the way I look at it is, each brand does what they do. And Davidoff, what they do, they believe in it. They do it very well. I really never had a Davidoff didn't work. I never had a Davidoff not draw. Their ash game is not as good as Fuente, but that's here or there. It is very clean. It is very delicious. I have nothing bad to say about it. I've never had a Davidoff though, except one. Okay, I was gonna say Davidoff like made me feel dizzy or sick, but the Royal Release, that's for another time. I've told that story before. There was one night I had a Royal Release that fucked me up. I don't know if we should count that as a regular cigar though. This is fantastic. Well, down to the nub. I had a great time with this cigar. Delicious. Really nice, pleasant sweetness. Very clean flavors. Polished. Sanded down to a nice, shiny cigar. Clean flavor on the tongue, palate, the teeth. No ditty. The whole palate is coated. All the flavors combined is just one beautiful, harmonious note. That's what's nice about the Davidoff, because all the flavors are so polished. Clean and smooth. That's how I would describe Davidoff. Very clean, very smooth. Sophisticated. But if you want a cigar with more texture, I would say then don't go with Davidoff. I think that, well, you're not limited to one brand. Each brand does what they do well. And no matter what Davidoff you get, it's going to have very clean texture, clean flavor. I really like the Nicaragua because it has great, the notes that are in the balanced notes are really nice. The sweet milk chocolate, the nuttiness, the peanut butter type of vibe. Some black pepper, some nice salt, and the rich cedar, all combined, makes this Davidoff Nicaragua I really enjoy. For me, it's a 4.75. I really enjoy this cigar. It's a high amazing. Every time I have a Davidoff Nicaragua, by the time I get to the end of it, I'm like, damn, that was a really good cigar. And even in this small stick, by the end of it, you're like, wow, I'm gonna sleep good tonight. You might have some real polished dreams. I can't stress it enough. Classy, sophisticated, ultra smooth, elegant. The finish is so you could taste the whole cigar on your tongue, like every note. If this is something you want, you can enjoy it. Although you're gonna pay though, they're not cheap. But I think for me, as a guy in the middle class, as a guy who owns a Corolla, clean title. For me, I would dabble in Davidoff. Maybe I'll have a Davidoff once or twice a season, a couple times a year. Maybe I'll have a Davidoff 5 or 6 times a year. But when I have one, I enjoy it, and they're special. I could afford to have a Davidoff every week, but I don't want to though. I'm not. It's different reviewing, but for myself, most of the time I'm reviewing. But when I smoke on my own, I'm just having a nice cigar. I'll get what I can on Cigar Page. I'm spending $5-6 on good cigars like Cohiba, Monte Cristo, H. Upmann, Romeo, A.G. Fernandez, maybe E.P. Carrillo, etc. But it's nice to have these cigars from time to time. Now, maybe you're in a spot where you're upper middle class. Maybe you're making $150,000, $200,000 a year, and maybe you could go, you know what? For me, I'll buy a box of Davidoff twice a year, and I'll smoke Davidoff, 2 times a month, 3 times a month. Sure. Now, if you can afford to smoke Davidoff every day, salute. But then I also think you're going to kind of limit yourself. Because this world is not a polished world. I guess that's the attachment, though. Although Davidoffs are very pleasant, the world is not a pleasant place. If you're like on a yacht, your world is very pleasant. But for most people, taking their clothes to the laundromat or, going food shopping and dreading the price, if you're not living a Davidoff life, then smoking Davidoff is going to make you feel bad, I guess. If you're trying to do it on a regular basis. Occasionally you're going to go, hey, I'm going to celebrate tonight, have a Davidoff, and that's a great thing. But for a regular guy, I can't see spending, $500 a month to smoke a box of Davidoff a month. That's a lot of money. Because there's no deals on Davidoff. The deal is just that you're smoking a Davidoff, I guess. There's no sales on Davidoff. So that's the review. As far as the cigar, the Davidoff Nicaragua was a cigar that I've said it was easy to love and they're box worthy, meaning you could smoke this over and over again and not get sick of it. Just because you buy a box, this doesn't mean you smoke it every day, unless you can afford to, God bless. So for me, if I did buy a box of this, maybe I'll have one, every month or every other month and say, hey, I'm treating myself tonight. But to smoke Davidoff every day, and then you're parking next to a bus stop or something like that and looking at homeless people while you're smoking a Davidoff, it doesn't pair well with the reality. But I'll salute. If you're at your yacht club, smoke a Davidoff every day. God bless. It is what it is. Davidoffs are sophisticated, they're high-end, they're expensive. For me, they're worth it from time to time when I want to celebrate. And this one, though, I didn't pay for it. I appreciate that. I paid for it in other ways, not in sexual favors to Gio, but dealing with his shenanigans. So I guess I earned this. .75, high amazing. Fantastic cigar. I'll see you around. Stay fresh, Gio.